Today we have a juicy one. On one side we have the return of the conqueror William Bonac, who won the 2024 Empro Classic against Nick Walker, who's a younger stud but not an up-and-comer anymore. We're going to use his recent New York Pro version. Aesthetic is not the word that characterizes best these two bodybuilders, but they are thick, muscular, complete muscle group per muscle group. Honestly, this is what I personally like more about bodybuilding. Before we begin, as you can notice, camera angles differ. For William, his lower body is way closer to the camera and it will look bigger as an illusion. I'm sure my viewers are educated enough to see past this detail. Front double biceps both have smaller frames, narrow clavicles and short limbs, but their bones are filled with thick muscles everywhere, not a single weak body part in sight. Now, of course, Nick's body is fresher, but William, for a 42-year-old, holds his own against him. Nick wins this pose, but what I want to mention is that maybe he can do with the midsection what William does here, because for Nick, that's his only flaw. Front lat spread. Arguably for both their weakest pose. Nick's disadvantage here is that his torso is longer and he's got a wide midsection, so he looks blocky. William's chest looks shallow here, but overall he kinda looks a bit better than Nick. It's debatable, but I will give William the win in this one. Side chest is next, and it's hard to go against Nick Walker in this pose. A prime Bonac would be different, but we have to admit that his pectorals and overall thickness are not the same anymore. Nick has the strongest arms in the business today, and he also improved on his chest, becoming a powerhouse in this pose. Another point for the mutant. Back double biceps, and this has to be the closest contested pose in this comparison. This has always been William's strongest pose and probably still is. He hides well his lat atrophy, which will become more obvious in the next pose. His lower lats are still crazy thick and he remains the bodybuilder with the lowest lat insertions ever, even lower than Kai Green or Lee Haney. They are both complete top to bottom, strong backs, complete lower bodies, strong arms and biceps, and on-point conditioning. This is really about personal preference. I think that side by side Nick would overwhelm William with overall size, so I'd go with him, but it really can go either way, and I will keep that in mind when making my final decision at the end. The back lat spread goes to Nick Walker. William's left lat is obviously damaged, and it shows in this pose. Nick improved his lat spread drastically since his last showing, and I will award him the win here. The side triceps is another strong pose for both. This is a fun comparison, guys. This is a tribute to two of the most complete bodybuilders of the last years. We all know Nick would beat Bonac on stage in 2024, but as we can see, Bonac holds his own against a Mr. Olympia pretender like Nick. As for this pose, Bonac's execution is flawless and he looks great. But looking at the triceps, the midsection, the overall thickness, I have to go with Nick. The abs and thighs is unquestionably a Nick Walker win, despite him not being at his best in this pose at this show, but William can't beat anyone on that Olympia stage in this pose, let's face it. He has no V-taper and no ab separation, but he has good quads. I'll give him that, especially again considering that he's 42. The most muscular is a great pose to finish up this comparison. For such complete bodybuilders with thick round muscles everywhere, the most muscular has to be good for sure. The hands clasp goes to Nick, and Nick does not hit a crab here. However, seeing William's crab pose, I think he would beat Nick Walker. As a conclusion, like I mentioned earlier, Nick wins the comparison. He's in his prime and William, despite looking great, is far past his prime. But this comparison proves that William can put anyone in danger if they don't come 100%. He's a wild card for the Olympia this year for sure. Can't wait to see them both